Buenos dias. Bonjour. Ni hao. Guten Morgen. Aloha. Yata e. Buongiorno. Konnichiwa. Yanaseo. Strasvitsya. Assalamu alaikum. Nuhne. Ah, hola. Yo hablo un poco de español. Yo visité México durante 1988 cuando era estudiante. No hablo bien en español, not anymore. Yo hablo español como una vaca francés. Pero recuerdo algunas frases importantes como hola y como ¿dónde está el baño? Y él fue atropellado por un coche. Y conozco algunas otras frases de otros idiomas como nuchtach o puchpae y ilwej jasjaj y klingan mach y kaplach. And no, I'm not going to translate any of that. In fact, I'm not even going to put it into the captions because the whole point is it's really annoying when you try to understand something and you don't know the language. That's what it's like when you write your programs in English and someone from Spain or Germany tries to use it and they don't know English. And so there really needs to be a way for your programs to speak with the native language of your user. And so that's really what this week's video is all about. So there's a programming library called cat-get-s. It's a catalog, message catalog based system. That's where cat comes from. And so it's able to open these message catalogs, and each message catalog is a different language. We have a version of that also called cat-get-s. I wrote that long ago, but there was another version, a newer version called Kitten. It's a smaller version of cat-get-s. So, and that was really taken cat-get-s and really modified it, overhauled it, and made it much better. And so thanks to Tom Ellert and Eric Auer for doing that work years ago. And so I wanted to do a demonstration about how to use Kitten to support different spoken languages in your FreeDOS program. So let's take a look. So here I've downloaded the Kitten library, and I'll put a link to this in the video description. So this is the Kitten library. So the important thing is, let's start up a new file here. We'll call this one test.c. So the concept for this is simple. So this is the how you would use how to use Kitten. And so it's basically you need to open a message catalog. You need to then get a string from the catalog. And you're going to do that multiple times. Obviously, every time you need to get a message, you're going to print a message, you're going to need to get it from the message catalog first. And by the way, you're going to grab that using basically a two-dimensional coordinate system. You're going to use what's called a message set and another one that is a message number. We'll talk about what that is in a little bit. But basically, that allows you to group messages into message sets like error messages, information messages, welcome messages, things like that. And then the message number is the identifier within that message set. And then when you're done with printing messages before you exit the program, you should probably close the message catalog. And so that's the concept of how to use Kitten. So how do you do Kitten? So let's go ahead and write a sample program here. So we're going to do include can't write here, include standard IO, and we're going to include the local file kitten.h. And so my main program, I'm not going to call any command line options, so I'm going to have an empty parameter list here. And so you're going to need to have a string pointer that you can use. So we're going to do a char stir, and that's a character string pointer. And that's just a pointer to a string. You don't have to do that. I'll show you in a second. You don't actually have to be calling it and then storing it in a pointer just to use later. But it's handy if you do want to use it somewhere else. You can or multiple times. You can. That's a handy thing to do. And so let's go ahead and open the catalog. So open the catalog. And so you're going to do that with Kitten open. and you need to give it an argument, which is basically the base name, the file base name for whatever your message catalog is. So in this case, we'll call it test. Now, if you're using cat getS, if you're familiar with that library, you actually also need to pass another option, and you need to carry or store the catalog descriptor. But we don't need to do that in Kitten. Kitten's going to deal with only one message catalog at a time, which is actually a really great simplification because most of the time that's what we're going to do anyway. So we've opened it with Kitten open. And then behind the scenes, Kitten is going to take care of only pulling from that message catalog. And so let's go ahead and we'll grab some strings. So you can grab the, let's print some strings. I'll show you two ways to do it. So one way you can do it is you can use Kitten getS. And so that's going to get a string from the Kitten library. Again, Kitten is just a short version of the message catalog system, cat getS. And because of a smaller version, it's Kitten. So cat getS or Kitten getS, we're going to pull from the message set. In this case, we'll pull from message set 1, and the message number. In this case, we'll do 1. And then you need to have a default string. So what if the file wasn't there, or what if this message isn't there? What's it going to print? And so you probably want to print some sort of a default message. And so we'll say hello world. Now we need to store that somewhere, and that's where that string pointer comes in. So we need to store that into stir, and that allows you to print it using putS stir. Or you can call it directly, and so you can do it all in one line. So we can do putS and then do a Kitten getS on let's say message set 1 and message number 2, and it could be a string like this is a test. Oops, and then closing bracket for the putS. Right, so you could do it in one step as well, whatever makes more sense to you, whatever is more readable. And now when you're done with your program, so you might put some other stuff here, right? And then when you're done with the program, you're going to close the message catalog using Kitten close. And because you can only open one catalog at a time, there is no option to Kitten close. You don't actually have to pass out a message catalog. If you're familiar with the cat getS series of functions on Unix or Linux, you need to pass the message catalog you want to close. But again, Kitten can only open one catalog at a time, so there's no option here. It will just close the one that it has open. And then after that, you can return back the operating system. So we can do return 0. So it's a pretty simple test program, but it really is that simple to pull strings. So again, all I'm doing is I've just got a pointer up here to a string that I'm going to use when I use Kitten getS. I'm going to open up a message catalog, and the argument there is the file base name of the message catalog. Usually it's going to be the same thing as your program. So if your program was Sinet for the simple Sinet game, you'd probably call it Sinet as the base name. The extension, by the way, is going to be the language. We'll get into that in a second, but that's the base name here is test. And then you can pull strings out of that catalog using Kitten getS, and you're going to use the message set and the message number. And there's two different ways to do that. You can do it directly, or you can store it in a string and then use that string. And then when you're done, you just do Kitten close. And so that's all there is to printing strings. So we're going to go ahead and save and quit. And let's go ahead and compile it. So let's do .com compiler and linker on test.c, but also we'll compile kitten.c at the same time. And so there it is. I'm not seeing any warnings or errors, which is a good sign. So we can go to a directory, and you can see we've got a test.exe. Now, if we just run that test.exe, it's going to print out my default strings. There is no message catalog for it to pull from. Well, how do we test that? Well, let's go ahead and create a file, and we'll do I'll just do a very simple copycon. So copycon into test. Let's call it en. In this case, we're going to capitalize the strings, and so we're going to do message set 1, period, message number, and then we're going to do a colon, and now we're going to put in our string. So our string was hello world. Let's put this in all caps so that we actually know we're pulling from this file. So we'll do hello world, all caps. And then message set 1 and then message number 2 was this is a test. And by the way, you might have other things in this file. You might have maybe message set 2 is going to have a bunch of errors in it. So it could be file not found. Could be things like could not open file, could be not enough memory, right? You kind of get the point. And so you might have another message set, maybe message set 3 are prompts. And so 3.1 could be press Q to quit. Message set 3, message number 2 could be press F1 for help. Could be things like that. So, you know, your message set can contain, your message catalog can contain a lot of different strings, everything that your program needs. We'll do Control Z and that'll end that file. And so if I do a type on test.en, you can see that certainly the first 2 lines, and that's the ones we're going to use in our program, hello world, and this is a test. Now we need to set a couple of environment variables real quick. And so we need to set lang to whatever our preferred language is. And in this case, I'm going to do it as English. And I'm going to set what's called the NLS path. And I'm going to set that to the drive that I'm in right now, just because that's where my file is, source kitten. And remember that the language was EN, and that's what I named my message catalog. So I've got my message catalog here that's test.en. And so now, without having to recompile the test.exe, all we've had to do is drop in a new language file. I can do test as the program, and it prints out all uppercase. And we know that it's pulling from the message catalog because inside the program itself, it was using a mixture of upper and lowercase. So if I do set lang equals, we'll just set it to ZZ. And so if I run test again, right, there is no test.zz language file. And so it's going to be pulling from those default strings again. And that's all you really need to do to use Kitten in your program. So it's a very simple way to support multiple languages. You can have inside those language catalogs, you could have different prompts, you could have different error messages, all kinds of things that your program needs to print needs to go into a message catalog. And other people can then translate those files, and then instantly your program can support other languages. So that's how you use Kitten, and I'll go ahead and pause there for this week. Before I exit the video, I just want to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon. Thank you very much. Your support really means a lot to me, and you really do make this channel happen. Some of you are sponsoring me at a higher level, and I want to thank you here, so thank you very much for that. Visit our website at freedos.org, join us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you.